Well, Dr. Christina Rahm is the founder of Cure the Causes, is a formulator for Root Wellness and a visionary alchemist for the International Science Nutrition Society. But before all of that, she worked at Pfizer. And she says, thanks to that experience, she knew that a biological attack like COVID-19 was coming. And she says that far more is on the way, from vaccine-induced AIDS to nanobots and more. And of course, we want to hear more about that. Dr. Rahm joins us now. So how did you know that the COVID attack was coming based on your experience working for Big Pharma?
Well, it was really a combination of working with in research in clinical and medical science. I also was in the sales and marketing, so I was experiencing all the different areas of pharma and biotech with Bristol Myers Squibb, J&J, Pfizer, Biogen, Alexion, UCB, and a lot of companies. So I would be brought in and working on special projects in those different areas. So through that, I was just told we have to prepare because there's going to be biological warfare and there will be viruses released in the future. So we're going to work on different things like human monoclonal antibodies and different kinds of vaccines.
Okay, so hold on a second. I got to stop you right there for a second. You said that they said that viruses were going to be released. In other words, that they were going to be engineered and released, as this program has said about the set of symptoms branded and marketed as COVID-19, which we now know came out of the bioweapons lab in Wuhan, China. Nobody can dispute that. But they said that they were going to be released. That's the verbiage that they used.
Yes, that it would be used with biological warfare with different countries. It would not be a nuclear war. We would have to have different things like viruses and bacteria and fungus that would be released. So we had to be prepared for it.
And then they in turn ended up releasing it on the entire global populace, including right here in the United States of America. And Pfizer knew about this beforehand.
I can't speak for Pfizer. I know that it was a lot of the companies we were preparing that we would have solutions for it so that when it was released, we would be able to treat it. They never said to me they were the ones that were going to release it. Yeah. I don't know which
they might not have said it, but I'm going to reasonably speculate that these demonic evildoers knew about it in advance. Now, you say that based on this experience, you also know that more is coming. What is the more that's coming, and how do you know that?
Well, I was actually asked to work at Wuhan, and I was told by some of the people at Procter & Gamble, I was asked to help with the solutions because they said there would be multiple viruses. And then some of the doctors that I worked with in China actually let me know beforehand what was getting ready to happen and that there would be 4 to 5 different things that they said would be released.
So you worked at the lab in Wuhan, China?
No, I was asked to work at the lab, at that lab on a project, and I declined because I didn't want to leave my kids for 6 to 9 months, and I didn't understand the project.
Okay, so when you said that the doctors that you worked with in China, you mean virtually or over the phone?
No, I worked for 3 weeks in China. I've worked there multiple times, helping with the hospital systems and different projects. And those doctors that I've worked with were the ones that contacted me and also gave me information.
Why China, by the way? I mean, other than the fact that they are our #1 global enemy, why do you believe that all this is happening there?
You know, China, it has a veil. It's kind of like Russia and different countries. It's, you know, they don't leak out information as much. So I would suspect that's one of the reasons that the global leaders, I know the lab there was working on retroviruses and vaccines, and I don't know if they all decided for that to happen or why that happened from Wuhan. But I would suspect it's because there's a lot of secrecy that they keep in China that's not released to most people.
As big of a boogeyman as our media, which we now know to be completely dishonest, totally complicit liars, paid for, bought off by Big Pharma. They are the propaganda arm of the globalists and those that want to kill us and neuter our kids and sell them on the free market and eradicate Christianity. And as much as they make out Xi and China and Putin and Russia to be this boogeyman, when they say go left, I just go right now. And I believe that there is probably a deep state and bad actors in China. But I don't know that Xi or Putin are necessarily the bad guys. And it appears in their recent alliance that they may actually be trying to expose who the real bad guys actually are. And now desperately running for cover are the globalists and the evildoers inside of our own bureaucracy and the global cabal that wants to take down and eradicate all the aforementioned. And it's really quite interesting to watch. What do you think specifically it is that's coming?
Well, I'm concerned about smallpox. I'm concerned about rabies. Anytime you tell me that a biological place has been blown up, I'm exposed that that experience will release things. I'm concerned about different types of Lyme disease because I know ticks and fleas have been used in the past with some of the biological missions. And I'm like you. I don't know that it's Putin. I don't know that it's Xi. I don't know if those are the people. I think that it's people behind underneath that have been driving this for years and not necessarily them.
Yeah, we've seen that here domestically. I mean, we saw Donald Trump with a deep state working around him. As soon as he got into office, the swamp just worked overtime. They went from Washington to Bedminster and now down to Mar-a-Lago. The same people are surrounding President Trump right now. The deep state is acting fervently in desperation to try to escape this, which is why we now see this military intervention being talked about, nuclear war, no-fly zones, things like that. Russia, Ukraine, Russia, Russia, Russia. It's a huge distraction away from the criminal enterprise and the crimes against humanity that these people, these demonic Satanists have inflicted and been responsible for on the global populace. All of these deaths. It's probably why we don't see Tony Fauci anymore, because he's been disgraced and is running for cover, I would imagine, right now, probably trying to escape the noose that he deserves if he is indicted, tried, and should be fried. What about this? What is this called? This hemorrhagic fever, or what is the other word for this thing that they've been throwing around? Marburg. What is this now?
Well, the thing is that that's another way you can genetically engineer or basically reverse engineer things that can be targeted to go in. So that's just another thing that could be utilized to attack the human race or to basically get rid of populations. And I said this the other day in a discussion, someone said, well, we're not overpopulated. And I said, no, when you talk about being overpopulated, you're talking about the people, the very high people that are not gaining power or making money from the people that are in the lower levels. So they don't care if they don't fit their agenda. It doesn't make sense for them to stay on the earth. And that's my opinion about what most people or most of these big powers are thinking.
So not only have you had experience with these big pharmaceutical companies like Pfizer, for example, and not only are you an alchemist and a formulator for Root Wellness and the founder of Cure the Causes, but you also have an academia background with Harvard specifically.
Yeah, I did my graduate postdoc work was at Harvard in nanotechnology. I wanted to study as much of that as I could, because here's my thought process. If we're going to have things happen in this world that are going to be destructive, we've got to have scientists that are on the side that understand how to correct it and understand how to fix it, or otherwise you can't win. I also went back to Cornell in pharmaceutical operation management and nutrition because my goal was to provide solutions, knowing that we would continue to have things that would affect our population in a negative way.
Are there scientific papers that you contributed to that we can find?
Yes.
And where are those? Are those actually posted at your Cure the Causes website?
LinkedIn under Dr. Christina Rahm, you will see a lot of the papers, and we're starting to upload them. You can also go online, American Dermatology Association, American Oncology Association. I did a lot of investigator-sponsored trials, case studies, and different things with human monoclonal antibodies and things that I worked on.
What about these human monoclonal antibodies? Are they good? Are they bad? Do they have all of these things in them that we have been told that they have in them?
So some of the human monoclonal antibodies that I've worked on, I feel like are very good because they go in and they target to get rid of a disease. Because what happens is you send them in to basically tell the cells what to do. However, if you can program something to go in and do that, you and I both know you can do that for a positive effect or a negative effect. The thought process in science is if you have a virus, like let's say rheumatoid arthritis, the cells are surrounded by these spikes, and so HIV can't naturally get in. So what scientists work on are creating a virus to go in the pretense of helping with another virus, but I've never seen that work effectively, in my opinion. I do know there's certain molecules that I worked on in Alexion and Biogen that have helped a lot of people. I just feel like there's a lot of things that have been released recently that the side effects and adverse events obviously were not communicated to anyone or to the public, and they were known. mRNA has been around since the 80s, and we know it was effective. We've always known, but it wasn't the side effects and the adverse events, especially for the children and generationally with the animals, were very negative. And so those weren't used in the past, but they have been obviously used now.
So the mRNA technology that Dr. Malone helped to invent has been around, but he didn't necessarily invent the ingredients that are now being used in this injection that the mRNA technology is helping to deliver. In other words, is what you're
Correct.
saying. And so, yes, that would be an example of blockchain. Really good technology, but can be used for extremely bad purposes, and people can do their evil with it. I only have a couple of minutes left here, but I want to ask you this. So, Paul Alexander, Dr. Paul Elias Alexander, was a HHS senior COVID advisor for President Trump. He was on this program just recently. Can't believe that he said it, but he said he believes that COVID is fake. I believe that too. And here's what I mean by that. When I say that, I don't mean that people were not getting sick, Dr. Rahm. I understand that people were getting sick. I believe that there was a chimerically engineered, intentionally released bioweapon that came out of that lab in Wuhan, China, and that got out of control. I don't believe that it is a deadly disease. I don't believe that anybody should be dying from COVID-19. So far, do you agree with what I'm saying?
100%.
Okay. And if given the proper treatment, nobody should die, whether it's ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine, zinc, vitamin D3, quercetin, these things that we have found to be effective. So far, do you agree with what I'm saying?
100%.
And that hospitals have weighed in on and helped to actually kill people with poisonous drugs like remdesivir that causes renal failure and shutdown and organ failure, and then the ventilator, and then into a grave. Do you agree with that?
I agree that they have treated this completely wrong, and this was not okay,
Okay.
how the treatments have been released.
So when we say fake, we mean that COVID-19 is actually fake, and that it has been branded and marketed as a product that has made people billionaires, even trillionaires, if you look at these big pharmaceutical companies that are just, I mean, their bottom line is just unbelievable and the money that they're making. But this is a product, and that COVID-19 really isn't a disease, but that it's a set of symptoms being used to perpetuate fear, control, compliance, subservience, all of these things. Do you agree that COVID-19 is fake in that way?
I agree. I agree in that way that COVID-19 is fake because Corona has been around since the 1600s, and there's different variants. Yeah.
With that being said, there's going to be more fake things that happen to accomplish all of the same goals that I just mentioned. So you came here to warn about these things, these nanobots and these AIDS type things with these injections that we don't need and that we don't want and that are another bioweapon that are causing record-setting, unprecedented amounts of death that the media won't touch. What is the purpose of you coming here? It's to issue a warning, obviously. So how can people protect themselves in about a minute?
People need to protect themselves by taking certain vitamins and minerals and then switching them up because a virus is smart. So you just have to give yourself the tools inside your body you need to fight it. And there's lots of tools available from Zithromax to diflucan, hydroquinone. Then there's also, of course, vitamins and minerals. I also want to tell people my master's and my first doctorate degree was in psychology. So psychological warfare is real. You guys need to understand you own your minds. You own your bodies. Treat your bodies. Your body has a living city in here. So you deserve to give it what it needs, which is the proper protection. You've got to detox and you've got to provide and protect the cells inside your body. You can make it through this. You've got to be strong in your mind, body, and your spirit.